Hello, cherished viewers. Joseph Bata is my name from Ghana, West Africa. Welcome to my program, Mining for the Truth. I attend Church of Christ. Mining for the Truth refers to the process of digging to discover the undiluted doctrines of Christ. It has two purposes as follows. One, to teach the word. John 1 verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You can prove, going to Genesis 1 verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The plural Hebrew word for God there is Elohim, God the Father, God the Son Jesus Christ, the Word, God the Holy Spirit. 2. To teach the truth. John 8:32. And you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. What is the truth? John 17:17. Sanctify them by your truth, your word is truth. What is the truth manifestation? John 14 verse 6. Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me or except through me. The phrase except by me means that there is no any other way. Acts 4 verse 12. So Jesus Christ is the only person, or it is the only name, or Jesus Christ, is the only name given among all human beings, heavens and the earth, under which we are all being saved. On that note, I welcome you, Mad Campus Church of Christ, Esikado, Takradi. Doris Odonko, Mrs. you are welcome officially. I was always saying that at the right time, God will do it. And now, He has done for you. Of course, I won't mention what I'm trying to say, but by the grace of God, our prayer has been answered. Our long-awaited prayer has been answered. We continue from last week. The theme is prayer, the secret defense. And topic becomes praying always. Ephesians 6 verse 18. We are on chapter 5. Yes, no, and wait. These are the three areas where God answers our prayer. So, God hides what lies ahead because He wants us to have good expectations and strive to achieve the best. Matthew 6 verse 8 is saying that before we pray, God knows our need. If He knows our need, why should we pray? Even consistently and continuously. Here, the topic is saying that God hides what lies ahead. So intentionally, He hides it. Why? Because He wants us to have a good expectation. There should be a faith in Him to anticipate that for sure and at the end, He is going to fulfill our long-awaited request. Just as I mentioned one in Doris' case. And try to achieve the best. As a Christian, you must always strive to achieve. To strive means more or less hard working rigorously. Nothing comes easy anyway. Even those who are worshipping Satan through Illuminati, Freemason, they do more sacrifices. It is not always that they are giving what they want. The higher the sacrifices, the higher the rank. The more the sacrifices, the more your status. I'm superior you are. Thus, one must try a new thing to grow. You must always grow. The fact that your prayers are unanswered does not mean that don't grow. You must always grow. Prayers answered, requests unanswered. We must still try a new thing. Initially, we saw about ask. Ask, seek, and knock. And there's always an answer to it. Everything happens for a reason. If God is waiting, if God is saying yes, if God is saying no, if God is saying wait, then it means there's a reason. There's a reason upon which everything happens in this life. Maybe a better path is waiting for you. Maybe. Why is he saying no? Why is he saying wait? Maybe there is something better ahead of you. So if he answers your prayer now, you may lose an opportunity far better than the immediate. Though invisible, even though we don't know, there's no way you will see the works of God. We can penetrate into the wisdom of God. So we are always nagging. We are disturbing him. We are annoyed. We are always in haste that he must answer it as soon as possible. By then, in disguise, he is aware that there's something better. He's preparing you. The word is preparation. You are being prepared for a greater height. In this life, nothing is to be regretted. We must never ever regret anything. Whether you are up, whether you are low or down. So whether you go up, you must trust in God and you must not regret. When things are going well too, you must also trust in God. For better and for worse. But no such thing that once down, no rising again. It is impossible that sometimes you go up, sometimes you come down. Now, we thought that life is more or less the same as climbing a stairs. We all know a stairs. Means that one step, step two, the higher the steps, the higher you go. But in Christianity, unfortunately, instead of us to always go higher, sometimes we go higher and then we are brought back from where we began, I mean the starting point. But even if you fall, you're going to rise. God answers prayers in 3 ways. 1, God says yes. So 1. Let's read 1 Samuel 13 verse 14. From there, you will also read the 15 verse 11. So 1 Samuel 13, 14. Of course, on Saul, we mean King Saul, the first king of Israel. 1 Samuel 13 verse 14. Okay. And Samuel said to Saul, "You have done foolishly. You have not kept the command of the Lord, your God, with which he commanded you. For then the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. You have done foolishly." Now let's go to the 15 verse 11. And then I'll summarize it from the teachings. Verse 11. Okay. I regret that I have made Saul king. So God is speaking here. For he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments. And Samuel was angry and he cried to the Lord all night. God says yes and gives you what you want. When you force God, he gives you what you want. Now, Israelites, they needed king by force. By force, they needed king. They confided in God and he gave them King Saul. You are fully aware. The main difference between King Saul and King David was that King Saul never regretted sinning against God. Sometimes he will even choose an intermediary to pardon or to go to God and pray on his behalf. So here we are saying that King Saul served himself. He glorified himself. He refused to glorify God, the Maker who praised him where he was. That's why Samuel said, "You have done foolishly." He was not interested in following the commandment of God, but rather to suit his interests. And that's how we are. So ingrate and gratefulness. You are going to vote for somebody, thinking that the person has a good governance, but the person can even turn around and imprison you or remove you from your position. He sees you as a threat to his administration. We are so ungrateful. People who helped us to rise, we did against them. We frustrate them a lot. And sometimes we behave as if we rise or we rose to the rank by our own might. So King Saul was not interested in communicating with God than to the Israelites, but rather he was on his own, an island. He needed no one. And consequently, God chose David to replace King Saul. That's why the 15th verse 11 is saying that God regretted. So can you imagine? God regretted installing King Saul as the first king of Israel. So he said that God says yes and gives you what you want. So if you force God in prayer, and how dare you? Who are you? We assume that you are a parent. Can your children or can your child force you to grant his request? No. You decide when you think it is ideal to give, then you give. You same parents, do you force God to give you or to grant your request? And this goes to those who are looking for a marital partners to marry. Sometimes somebody will stand up in the church and give a loose comment or answer that my daughter is of age. No one from the church has approached her for marriage. So must she be in the church and sin? And because the child does not want to sin, that's why he or she married from outside. This is a loose talk. It shows how shallow you are in reasoning and even also in the faith. I mean, who are you? And what do you mean by that? Do you understand what you're saying? There's a proverb that when you are speaking, listen to your ears. Do you really, can you decode? When we have this as a phrase and you are out to decode, do you think you can decode it properly? This shows that number one, you are forcing God to grant you your request. Number two, you don't respect God, you don't also honor him. He chooses to do what he wants. When you are forcing him, he gives you a Christian brother that you think that he is so committed, and later he turns out to be a womanizer. So he will say yes and give you what you want because you are forcing him. God gave the Israelites a king since they wanted. It's your want. He gives it to you and then you are free. So don't sit down there and question, why did God do that? Because they were forcing him. So he said, take it and go with your troubles, and he was free. Two, no. Genesis, I think 25, verse 20, 21, and 26. Genesis 25, verse 20, 21, and 26. About Isaac and Rebekah. It's so simple. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Paddan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. Verse 21. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. Verse 26. Then I will explain. Afterward, his brother came out. His hand took hold of Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So here we are saying that God says no and gives you something better. God says no and gives you something better. I think I should be able to narrate this a simple story. We all know of Isaac, the son of the God-known son of Abraham. Now Rebekah was dead, so the father thought it wiser to find for him a comforter because the mother was gone, probably to give him affection. A contemporary affection, we mean sometimes a mother's love to a son can't be compared to the same love from the wife to the son. That's what I'm saying, contemporary. So that Isaac would be comforted. Being as a wise father, he prayed to God first. God first, he prayed. He was directed. And the end was that, Abraham was able to get Rebekah for his son Isaac. Now, when they married, Rebekah was a virgin. Are you a virgin? You were a parent bragging that your daughter is of age, your son is of age. Are they virgins? Or they have been corrupted by the world? Do you think it is easy to go to school, finish your service, apply for work, upon all disappointments, be able to secure a work, save money if we are a boy or a man, to go and pick a list, only for you to marry a girl or a woman or a female in which the parents are bragging about, who is not a virgin? We are Christians. God requires the first. If not that, most Christians are hypocrites, and therefore they are both in the church and then in the world. They should be virgins, because even if you go to the world, we have mothers who are not Christians, but their children are virgins. They marry as virgins. We are not saying that when you marry a virgin, they are going to heaven, or only virgins have better character. No. But it is also so sad to marry a woman who is in the faith and not a virgin. So we cannot also blame some boys or some men who go out to marry, because maybe the person wants to marry. In the olden days, unless you are a virgin, no one will marry you. So Rebecca was a virgin when Isaac married her. She was a virgin, and emphasizing on the interest of being a virgin. Stay as a virgin to marry, because your husband also has a taste. The Christian is not always meant for leftover. Prioritize your faith. Didn't you have sense that the foolish boy that you were going to sleep with in the world was not going to marry you? Didn't you know ever that you were going to marry some man, or I want to marry in the church? If you want to marry in the church and you are now listening to me, I'm saying that God also wants the first. The first is of virginity. Don't let Satan corrupt you to allow his agent to sleep with you before later, when you have become rejected even by the world. When you have become a stigma in the world, because they are all pointing at you, this guy slept with her, everybody has slept with you. Now you turn into an angel. Come to the church to marry and worry. Maybe some boy or some woman or some girl who has never ever womanized or manized. You see, when you start your life as a womanizer or manizer, you are experienced than someone who stayed maybe faithful to the Lord. So there's a confliction in terms of a sexual satisfaction when you marry. Because more or less, you live your life as a prostitute in the world. So you have been sleeping or you have slept with many men, many women. Now, if you're a girl who has slept with 2 or 3 boys, experiencing different strengths in terms of sex, how can one man whom you are going to spend all your life with be able to satisfy you on bed? Anyway, we move on. It's up to you, of course. I am very happy that at the end we are all going to give accounts of our life in this to God. You are hereby informed that if you knew before you sinned, there's no forgiveness. If you didn't know, fine. But if you had then been baptized in the Lord's church and foolishly you went out to practice sex, and now you have married or you are going to marry in the church, I am not sure. Did you know why God created you as a virgin? Oh, sorry, I said created. Did you know why God created you as a virgin? Of course, when you use the word date. Girls with no past tense. Did you know why God created you as a virgin? You don't know. You didn't know. We move on. So, when Abraham prayed, the end was that the son got to marry a virgin. They stayed for 20 years. No sign of miscarriage, nothing. So Isaac had to pray on verse 21. On behalf, you see, the Bible is saying that he interceded for Rebekah. The man and then the woman, they become one when they marry. So even though Isaac was praying on behalf of Rebekah, but he was equally praying for himself. So if you are a wife, when you pray to God on behalf of your husband, you are also praying for yourself. Because whether being a profit or loss, you're going to be a shareholder. And by God's grace, Rebekah became pregnant with Jacob and then Esau. So here we saying that God says no. So all the 20 years, God said no to Isaac and Rebekah. He said no. But he gave them something better. Twins. He gave them double. That's why we say better. So yes, no, wait. God says wait and gives you the best. So Genesis 41 verse 41. To 46. And then 1 Samuel. So let's look at Joseph in Egypt and then Hannah. So first things first, Genesis. Genesis 41 verse 41. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, see, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. And he had him ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried out before him, bow the knee. So he set him over all the land of Egypt. 45:4. Pharaoh also said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without your consent, no man may lift his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. Verse 45. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphanat Paneah, and he gave him as a wife Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. So Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt. Verse 46. Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. So this is the first part. We are going to explain, and I think it is even self-explanatory. We all know Joseph, the beloved son of Jacob. And we also know the mother, Leah. In fact, I said Rahel. Jacob loved Rahel very much. He was deceived. And then later, he had to also work extra 7 years to attain Rahel. So he served for 14 years before getting Rahel to marry. Rahel was barren for a while. But Jacob loved his first wife so much. So when Rahel gave birth to Joseph, definitely Jacob loved Joseph because of the love that he had for the mother Rahel. At times, you are a man. Your child has misbehaved. You ignore. You are ignoring because of the love and respect that you have for the wife. Because the wife is the product and the child is the produce. So men are mostly considerate. They consider the misbehavior of the children in favor of them. So it means that if you're a woman and your husband hates you, then it means that this will be transferred to the children as well. Don't classify your father as weak. But because of the love and respect that he has for your mother. So also you have mothers who also pardon their children in favor of the husband. So Jacob loved Joseph because the mother was Rahel and she was his beloved. Out of jealousy, he was thrown into a pit, he was sold, and later put into prison. In all cases, God was with him. God favored Joseph. On and on and on and on. He was also tempted by Potiphar's wife. Or he was tempted by a woman. And at the end, he had a favor. And he was able to sit with the king. Let's go to 1 Samuel 1:27. Between Hannah and then the son Samuel. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition, which I asked of him. Now, Dinah was also the first wife of Elkanah. Due to barrenness, he took another wife, but his heart was with Hannah more than the second wife. Of course, she was barren. So, annually, she had to pray. To some point, Eli thought she was drunk. And she promised God that if you give me a son, I will dedicate him to you. On and on and on, she became pregnant. she gave birth to Samuel, a better son, actually, a better son. And then, as she promised God, she dedicated her there to also serve the Lord all his life. So here, we are saying that God says, wait, and he gives you the best. He gave Joseph the best, and he also gave Hannah the best. So we have seen, yes, when you pray and you force God, he gives you what you want. When you pray and you are patient, God says no. He gives you something better. When you pray and you are more patient, or you are more patient, he says wait, and gives you the best. Esperanza. Bible studies have been taking me through more languages. Of course, it is a noun in Spanish. So Esperanza is a noun in Spanish language. If someone may question, can I speak Spanish? No. But I can learn the vocabulary, okay? Because Facebook is everywhere. So we make friends from all over the world. Indians, Pakistanis. So if you want to learn the language, they will teach you. You can also subscribe to some articles and journals from those countries and also learn. That was where I learned. I learned through what we call gather of information. So we say Esperanza is the field of hope, trust, and patience in waiting for something better to come. Simple. Esperanza. So we are on the concluding part. It's the field of hope, trust, and patience in waiting for something better to come. Often tied to deep faith and belief in possibilities. Joseph was tied to a deep faith. Hannah was also tied to a deep faith. Deep faith. We didn't say faith. Deep faith. And belief. Impossibility. So you don't just have faith, but you believe in something. Esperanza is also holding on. You are holding on. That's the sense of trust. It's holding on, not because it is easy, but because you believe it's worth it. It is also holding on, not because it is easy. It was not easy for Joseph and Dinah. It wasn't. Don't sit down there and listen this as a story. It is not easy when you are barren. It is not easy when you are depressed, suppressed, and compressed by people who are rather lower than you in rank. You see, jealousy has no medicine. What at all did Joseph do that he was hated by his brothers? Envy and jealousy. It is not easy at all. I think initially we have made mention of a trial time or trying time. Some will say try, some will say trying. I call it test of time. It is not easy. If you are not careful, out of frustration, you will misbehave and then you mess up. You don't care whether you're a Christian, a pastor, whoever you are, you can mess up. It is the most difficult part of human race or human life. If you're unlucky, and one foolish mistake will upset you. One foolish mistake will offset you. Not because it is easy, but because you believe it is worth it. You believe that the pain that you are going through, the rejection that you are going through, the intimidation that you are going through, the mockery that you are going through, the underestimation that you are going through, the insult that you are going through, because it's worth it. At the end, they will see that indeed you are a Christian of faith. Oh, no wonder. Which church you attend? I think Church of Christ. Oh, no wonder. That's why. So God becomes so happy in heaven of not knowing that I have a son in this corrupt world. We say decayed world, who still trust and have hope in me. God becomes so happy and he will reward you without any troubles or problems. You start to flourish step by step. And people will wonder. You will never ever fall unless you leave God as Saul did and follow Satan. But if you continuously trust in him, I tell you that within a short time, you will achieve what those who are laughing at you or who were laughing at you could not achieve in their entire life. Because the word is, it is your time. It is your turn and time. It is your turn. For me, that theirs is over, past, outdated. It is your turn and time. So they sit down there and folding their arms and they watch you as you rise through the rank in a comfortable lead. They sit down and then they gossip. They will never understand it. They will calculate and never get any answer. The answer will go to infinity. They will have no answer. They don't understand why you are rising, being blessed so fast, and that you are also rising. Because you waited. Because you are deep faith. I believe in possibility or possibilities if you want. You hoped in God. That for sure at the end, he will never ever disappoint you. God never disappoints. When it is your turn and time, some will even kill themselves. Because there's no way they will understand or find answer. To why you are being blessed, we say instantaneously. Instantaneously. God's way is the best way. God's way is the best way. We mean to follow Jesus is the best way. It is not always the easy way. Even though following Jesus is the best way, it is not always easy, or it is not always easy. When you are following Christ, it is not always the easy way. At times difficult, at times too soft. At times hard, at times soft. So we say that God's way is the best way. It is not always the easy way. When you take up your cross to follow Jesus, I tell you that there is more trial time for you. So be prepared. Really prepared that you're going to endure all insult, mockery. Your life will even be delayed. It is not always so, but to some of them, your life will be delayed because you are passing through your test of time, your trying times or your trial times. On that note, Joseph is my name. Meet you next week on chapter 6. Bye-bye.